Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Shane Walsh podcast. So, today's episode is an honest episode. It's about that sad step and why that number on the scale has nothing to do with what's actually holding you back. It's called The Scales Aren't Your Problem. So, we know the whole thing about the weighing scales. If it's down, you feel great. If it's up, you feel like it's wrecked your mood. And we talk about those. You step on it every single Monday morning, full of hope, and then we hit despair. And if that number is down, you're flying it. You're motivated, you're eating well, you're basically a wellness influencer in your own head. And then that number goes up, or for some, it stays the same. And then something in you just breaks. Your heart, your tears, your emotion. And then the week falls apart even before it started. You eat the biscuits, the crisps, like they're going out of fashion. You skip the gym, you tell yourself it's not working, and maybe that it never will. And this may sound familiar or sound too familiar to the point that it hurts. And here's what I want to say to you today. This is not a weight loss problem. This is not even a weighing scales problem. This is something that's much, much deeper. And until you understand what's going on, no diet, no plan, no app, no nothing is going to fix it. So we need to understand why you lose your shit when the number goes up. So let's be honest about something. You weren't born thinking the number on a scale defined your worth. Nobody is. This was taught to you. And I remember talking to one of my clients, and she brought up a point that when you are a baby, the first thing they do is to weigh you in to see if you're a healthy weight. So that narrative is created for you or curated for you. And then you hear it again, you hear it again, and you hear it again. So it can become a truth. But as we kind of grow up, it's taught to us by diet clubs that you get weighed in front of other people and either celebrate you and high five you when you're down, or look at you like you're a twat with quiet disappointment when it's up. It's been taught to you by parents who talked about their bodies, grandparents, aunties, uncles, like their bodies were the actual enemy. It was taught to you by decades of diet culture that told you being smaller is better, thinner is healthier. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. If you're not losing weight, you're failing. So when that number goes up, even slightly at all, even for a completely normal physiological reason, your nervous system, your menstrual cycle, having a glass of water, somewhere along the way, you've learned that this is a natural disaster. That's not a weakness, that's conditioning, and it runs deep inside of you. But I have to say this. Here's the thing. The scales are allowed to go up. That is a completely normal part of the process. Most people give up the moment it does. Not because their plan isn't working, but because nobody ever told them that fluctuations are to be expected. Or we fight against that expectation that it will go up. We still have that narrative of it has to go down every single time. That's like believing the weather in Ireland is never going to rain. And often has nothing to do with fat loss at all. So there's 5 things that I want to talk to you about today, what's actually going on, because it's never ever about just the scales. The first piece is your body image is doing the heavy lifting, and not in a good way. This is one of the most important topics that isn't taught to you or told to you at all. We need to talk about body image. And I want to be really, really specific here, because people think body image is just about whether you like what you see in the mirror and what you don't. It's not. It's the entire story of what you tell about yourself and your body. And most of the time, that story is you are a useless piece of shit. Poor body image can sound like, I look disgusting. I feel fat. I can't wear that until I lose weight. I don't deserve to go to that event because I look like this. I'll start being confident when I'm smaller. When I weigh less, I will do this X, Y, or Z. When I weigh less, I will go out on dates. It sounds like never being in photos, covering up in summer, apologizing for how you look, apologizing for taking up space, trying your entire mood to a number. You cannot hate yourself into a version of yourself you love. It has never worked. It will never work. And shame is not a strategy. And the cruel irony, when you approach your health from a place of hating your body, you are constantly going to lose that battle. Every healthy choice feels like a punishment. Every weight session will feel like a punishment. Every setback you feel like proof that you've always believed that you can't do this, that you're not good enough, you can't do it. You'll always be this way. You have to address the underlying issue of poor body image. It can be taught to you. It can be a learned coping mechanism, but not after. You don't fix your body image after you lose the weight. Before, and during, and always. Because the scales going down has never fixed the thing the way someone thinks about themselves. And we've got years and decades of evidence of that. You've lost weight before and still weren't happy. So it shows there's something deeper rooted. And that links in with number 2, which is your lack of compassion is killing your progress. This one is connected, but I want to take it a little bit further because it's not just about how you see yourself or how you see your body. It's about how you talk to yourself when things don't go to plan. When that scales goes up, what do you say to yourself? And I mean really, what do you say to yourself? What's that internal monologue? For most people, it's something like you're a useless fat piece of shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? You've ruined it again, you useless twat. Why do I even bother doing this? It's my metabolism. It's my hormones. Now, here's the question, and I want you to sit with it. If your child came to you and then said they'd had a tough week, that they'd been struggling emotionally, would you say these things to them? Of course not. You'd be kind. You'd be supportive. You tell them one bad week doesn't erase everything. But you don't do that to yourself. But the thing is, you've learned how to do this from somewhere else. One, it could be a coping mechanism that you've heard parents or adolescents or people that we are meant to look up to talk about themselves in a negative pattern. And we've learned that pattern. It could be that we've had emotional trauma or grief where people put us down. So we think that as a defense mechanism, we control the narrative. So if we put ourselves down first, no one can get there to ourselves. So we got to beat ourselves up first before no one else can beat us. But this is the important bit. A lot of you learn to speak to yourselves that way from adults around you. The same voices that are in your head now are the ones you grew up hearing, which means those voices are now in your kid's own psyche. So being a complete and utter weapon to yourself is not motivation. It's not discipline. It's not keeping it real. It is self-destruction dressed up as tough love. And it will not lead you anywhere other than going nowhere and the other way. It's like burning a house down before you move into it. The scales will go up. They are allowed to go up. But being an utter cockwomble to yourself is not okay. The scales literally cannot measure fat loss. So I need to nerd out a little bit. This is where my own ego comes into with the science. Your body weight on any given day is a measurement of everything in your body. Your bones, your water, your organs, your muscle, your fat, your water, your food, the air in your lungs, all of it. And they change daily. You can gain 1 to 2 kg overnight from just water retention, carb intake, hormonal fluctuation, stress, menstrual cycle, working out late, eating a little bit later, digestion slowing down. None of that is fat. So muscle's a little bit denser than fat, takes up less space, but it cannot be measured on the weighing scales. Or we cannot decipher whether it's fat loss or muscle gain. Fat doesn't turn into muscle and muscle does not turn into fat. They're two different entities. Fat loss is slow, it's unsexy, it's non-linear and invisible to a weighing scales on a daily basis. The scales does not know how much fat you've lost. It does not know if you've trained 3 times this week. It doesn't matter if you're just walking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't know if you have your menstrual cycle. It doesn't matter if you haven't had a shit yet. It just gives you this data point, and you've been treating yourself like that number, like a verdict that you're guilty of something. Weekly weigh-ins, weighing in 3 times a week, trends over time, how your clothes fit, how you feel, how your energy are, how your measurements are, how your strength are. These are way more useful data points than one measure in one morning. The scale is a tool, but you are beating yourself with that tool. A blunt one, but we need to stop letting it make decisions for yourself. For a lot of us, we seek control, but we give this key to the scales and say, you've got all the control here. We give away our control to the scales because of our body image, because of perfection, because of how we think about ourselves. The other thing that happens is the deadline is killing your progress. If you don't lose a stone by May, I'm giving up. Maybe it's a holiday, maybe it's a wedding, maybe it's a reunion, a number on the calendar that you've decided is the finish line. And a deadline can be useful for really a lot of people in the right hands. But it can also be a self-sabotage method when you attach that deadline to your worth. You've already told yourself a story that what happens if you don't hit it. You said, if I don't lose 2 kg by this week, you're quitting. You've already told yourself. So you've already controlled the narrative. You've already controlled the outcome. You've told yourself because you don't feel that you deserve it. Because what happens when you're 2 weeks out from the deadline and you're not where you want to be? You panic, you restrict harder, you burn out faster, you binge. Not from lack of willpower, not from discipline issue. If willpower and discipline were the issue that you have, you'd be there by now. It's like saying a toddler when it learns how to walk has a discipline issue every time they fall. You control that narrative that maybe it's too late and give up entirely. What's the point? You've told yourself, if I don't hit this by then, I stop. And when the deadline arrives and the goal just isn't met, guess what? You stop. Exactly like you said you would. You repeat that pattern because you've told yourself. You have decided before you even started. Because you fear success. You fear failure. More often than not, it's a fear of success. We don't feel we deserve the changes, so we will do anything to support that narrative. You've got more credit in the bank supporting that narrative. Health is not a project with the due date. It's not something you do when you're done. There is no after. There's only what you do consistently over time in a way that you can actually sustain. And those artificial deadlines that you've put on yourself are the enemy of consistency that you have put on yourself. Pick a habit, not a deadline. The next one is really, really important. And it's the last one I'm going to talk about, is that self-worth piece, the one that nobody wants to talk about. It's the one that people skip over because it's uncomfortable. But I think it's at the root of almost everything we've talked about today. And a lot of people don't make progress, not because they don't want to do or don't know what to do, not because they don't have the time, not because they've chosen the wrong plan, but because somewhere underneath all that they don't actually believe that what they can actually do. Most of us don't have a weight loss issue. Most of us have a self-compassion issue, an emotional dysregulation issue, a body image issue, or a lack of self-worth issue. Because you've lost weight before and it didn't fix the issue. It's like having a car and your red engine light's on and you decide to fix the windows. That's essentially what most people try to do with the weight loss goal. They think weight loss will fix their issues. Your husband's still going to be a cock. Your kids are still going to shit themselves. Your job is still going to be shit. You're still going to hate it. They're the things. When your self-worth is low, or even your self-esteem is low, you unconsciously protect yourself from disappointment by not fully jumping in. Dip one toe in and dip one out. I had a call with a client this morning and they were looking to kind of continue their coaching, but they had a few criteria in relation to the coaching in what they wanted a little bit further from, because they had a coach before and they weren't necessarily happy with it. Now, I'm also wary when people start complaining about other coaches, there can be two sides of the story. And what this person, when we actually had a conversation with them, what they realized was they were actually afraid of the amount of effort they would put in to things because they'd already told themselves they couldn't do it. Now, I've been working with this person for about 6 months already, and they're down about 15 to 16 kg. And they were looking to they were saying to themselves, oh, do you know what? I'm not sure anymore. because this is what they do. This is what they've done in the past. They get to a point and they say to themselves, if I push further, I'm not worthy of these goals because I'm still the fat person in my group. And that was the wordings that they used. I don't know who I'll be if I don't have the weight. We find reasons to exit the building before you're even proven right. Because being right is what makes us feel safer than hoping and being let down by this false promise. That's a self-worth issue. And no amount of calorie counting will touch it. And if you've lost weight before and it didn't fix the way you felt about yourself, that's enough feedback. That's evidence that weight loss was never the actual size. And that's not saying you can't lose weight and work on all this stuff together. You can. You can. But it has to be part of it. It can't be the full picture. Because the weight that people need to lose first is the mental weight. So we've talked about body image. We've talked about self-compassion. We've talked about the science of why the scales is a rubbish measure of fat loss. We've talked about deadlines and tying it to your self-worth. None of these things can be fixed by a number going down on a weighing scales. You've lost weight before and you came back because the weight was never the problem. The problem was much, much deeper. It's the stories you were handed and created by yourself or narratives, the voices in your head, the illogical voice, that bully, that inner critic, the belief that you're only acceptable, only worthy, only allowed to feel good if the number says so. And tackling those things, actually tackling them, will do way more for you, for your health, than any quick fix diet ever will. Not because the numbers don't matter, but because when you actually look after yourself and like yourself, not every single day, but kind of accept yourself, you stop needing to punish yourself into change. And that's actually when things change for good. So you have not got a weight loss issue. You have not got a metabolism issue. The scales aren't your issue. You were never the problem. You've been just trying to solve the wrong problem. If this episode helps at all, please do pop us a message. If this episode helps or resonates with you, pop us a message. If you're interested in working with me on a one-to-one capacity, I have 2 spaces open for May. So if you're interested in working with me at all and we can tackle these things together, let us know and we can jump on a free consultation. Thank you so much for listening today.